Hey everybody, Joel Penton here, founder and CEO of LifeWise Academy. Thanks for joining us for the Vision Cast. We are on our second episode of our second part of a series about the backstory or origin stories for our core values. We talked about being vision-centric, a subpoint of being committed last week. And now we're going to talk about a couple things, being servant-minded as well as being growth-oriented. And something that you should know about how we define these core values is that some of these points are part of our core values because they're very natural strengths for us that we found over the years. They're already part of our DNA, who we are. Others are here because we had to learn these lessons, and sometimes the hard way. And these two that we are covering today, these are things we really had to learn. And so let me tell you first I'll read to you how we define being servant-minded, and then I'll tell you kind of the backstory here. So here's what we have in our big picture packet. We will, under servant-minded, we will have the heart of Christ who came not to be served, but to serve. We will embody this attitude in every interaction with students, customers, donors, and fellow team members. So here's the backstory. As I mentioned, years ago, founded a traveling speaking ministry with a friend named Ryan, and we noticed the two of us, we just operated very smoothly, very much in sync. Honestly, didn't have to communicate even that much because he knew what he was doing, I knew what I was doing, and we were very task-oriented. We really wanted to get the job done and not get distracted, and we were able to very clearly differentiate who was doing, taking care of which tasks. And we found ourselves at times when a topic would come up or an issue would come up and it would kind of hit somebody's plate. We would use the term, "That's not my area." And so we'd kind of send it back over to the other person and just kind of had this really laser focused, we're going to get the job done. And if something came in that didn't apply to what I was getting done, we'd say, "Oh, that's not my area." But then as we started to bring on other team members, it became clear that is not the best way to operate, to silo oneself, to just be so focused. You'd say, "Oh, that's not my area. Oh, I'm not going to help with that. That's not my area." We realized that we needed a bit of a change of mentality, that we needed to think less about being so task focused and more about being servant minded, that we needed to welcome distractions or welcome interactions where we can help and we can serve others. And so we've tried to ever since then be very intentional that we are not simply here to get this job done no matter what happens. That when we interact with schools, we're there as servants. We're there to serve. We're there to help. When we interact with churches, we're not just there to get something done. We're there to serve. Whether it's donors, whether it's students, no matter who it is, we want to have a servant-mindedness. That's part of what we mean by being committed. And secondly, what we wanted to cover today was being growth-oriented. Let me read to you what we mean by growth-oriented. We will never be complacent. We know there's always room for improvement. We will continually strive to move forward and pursue both personal and organizational growth. Again, this is something we kind of had to learn the hard way. When we first launched the traveling speaking ministry called Stand for Truth, we had an amazing first year, had a ton of school assemblies, had a ton of events. I think it was over 300 different events, and it was just wonderful. And we saw so much impact in that. When we came around for our second year, we basically tried to just repeat the success of the first year. We tried to use the exact same strategies, the exact same messaging, the exact same operations, the exact same, as I said, everything. And what we found was that it was still an impactful year, but we actually took a step down in effectiveness and came out of the second year feeling like, oh man, things weren't better. They weren't even the same. They kind of took a step down. That's not cool. And that summer, after our second school year in ministry, I went to a conference and I gathered a lot of tools and learned a lot of new things. And we were able to, the third year, to implement those new things. And we had a conversation that we realized simply repeating is not going to work. Simply treading water is not going to work. We need to bake this into our DNA, that we are always going to be growth oriented, that it's never, in a sense, good enough. We're going to get better and better and better. And so now we talk about our iterative cycle of change, that we develop an idea, we deploy it quickly, we get feedback, and then we redesign it, redeploy, get more feedback. Everything is a draft. Everything is always getting better. That is now baked into who we are, that we want to be moving forward, growth oriented. And that also is part of what we mean by being committed. All right, so that's the big picture section for today. Let's hear a LifeWise story. On the line, I believe we have Julia Robbins, who's our assistant director for our program in Ontario. Julia, are you there?
Hi, Joel. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Julia. Thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of the Vision Cast, and thank you for serving in Ontario. Now, this is not Ontario, Canada, is it?
No, it is not. It's Ontario, Ohio.
Oh, Ontario, Ohio. Yeah, yeah, very good. Well, so tell me a little bit about how you got connected to LifeWise. What's kind of your LifeWise story? How did you find yourself as the assistant director?
Oh, well, I got to tell you, my connection with LifeWise started as a parent of LifeWise. If you'd have asked me about the director position, I would have never thought I would be in that position, but I'm so glad that I am. And I came as a parent, and I had heard from a friend that there was a faith-based program that was Bible education during school hours that my child could be a part of, and I said yes. And so I had all confidence in the school, and if it was a program that they were going to support, it was a yes for our family. And so we signed Dominic right up for that, and it was great. And how I actually came to be a director, Liz Holtz, who works for LifeWise, obviously.
Of course.
She come up to me in the parking lot and just said, "Hey, there's a director position open. Would you like to apply?" And I thought, okay, she knows my spiritual gifts. She has seen my spiritual gift survey. If Liz says this might be okay, then God would equip me. And so I signed up immediately. And I'm so thankful that I did. It has been such a gift. I actually get to assist Sue Smith, and we make a great team. And I love our team, and I love what God is doing by putting us together. It's just been such a blessing.
Oh, well, we are blessed to have you as a part of it, that's for sure. I am not surprised to hear that Liz Holtz is part of that story, knowing that you're from Ontario. And I tell you what, there's a lot of people who could say as part of their story was getting cornered by Liz Holtz and being told that they're going to be part of LifeWise. She is a special person to be cornered by her in a parking lot. Well, there's no getting out of that, that's for sure. And so, yeah, she's very special. And if she says you're the person for the job, then I certainly believe her. And yeah, as I said, we're grateful. So you said Dominic, that's the name of your son is he still in LifeWise?
Yes, he is this is his third year. He now attends our middle school program.
Oh, great.
Oh, yep. In total, I have 3 children, and all 3 get to come. And even my husband, Adam, he has got on board this year, and he's a hired teacher, and he's certified. He just did that this week. And so there's 5 of us in the family, and we are LifeWise strong.
The entire Robbins family is in. Yeah. Well, if you're like my family, then you see it. Yeah. I don't know the last time there's been a day that I haven't seen at least one LifeWise shirt worn by one of my family members. So maybe you're in the same boat there in Ontario.
Yes. It has its own section in the closet now. All of our apparel has its own section now in the closet.
That's great. Eventually your closet might look like mine, which that is the entire closet. I don't really have other clothing that doesn't have the LifeWise logo on it. Well, any case, Julia, you sent in a particular story of impact or of how the Lord is moving in your program and providing. Could you share that with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So Sue and I, we were working one day on what our needs were for the upcoming school year. And we had wrote it down, and we had totaled it up, and we had prayed over that list. And, we let the list go. We know that God supplies, and so we weren't worried about the list. We just walked out of the office and continued to work. And I had got a text message from my mother-in-law, asked what our needs were. Didn't think about it, but we had just talked about it, so I sent it over in a text, and it went back to work, not a big deal. And then later that evening, we had our board meeting. And, they're so awesome. We have the most amazing board. The unity there is just awesome. And they asked us, what are your needs? How can we be praying? What are the needs for the program? And so Sue continued to share the needs of our program. And she had said, we have this many new students, and to get shirts for just those new students, we need $200. But our hope was bigger than that. We wanted to supply a Bible for each student for in the classroom for this year. We wanted to get new recap cards for each student to have a shirt, because them kids love those shirts. It's such a blessing. But as she had shared the need and said, if we could just get $200, that would get the shirts for the new kids. And they started to giggle, and Connie was sliding a check to our loot leader, Jim, over, and she just giggled because the check was for $200. And so, again, we weren't surprised. Only God. And so we got the shirts for the new kids right away. Instantly, another board member said, I'll give $200. 3 teachers had given $100 each. We had a local lady here. She supports our program. She said she would sponsor a full case of Bibles at $359. And so the needs were being met that same day.
Right.
We had board members from a local Kiwanis give $300 and Modern One Mid give $500. We still had a balance that needed covered. And so the next day I got a text message from my mother-in-law that said, be looking for a donation. I have to tell you the story. So she called me. She told me this story, and she was in with the dentist, and the dentist had a coffee mug. And I don't even know what it looks like, and I need to reach out to ask him to send it because I want one too now. But he had a coffee mug, and the coffee mug in the corner just said LifeWise. Well, my mother-in-law had attended our evening of Impact back in April, and so she had a full LifeWise presentation, and she knew how to present, and she knew that God would supply the needs. But she said, hey, why do you have that cup? And he said, well, why do you want to know? And so the conversation went from there, and we found out that he's one of the main supporters of their LifeWise in Sunbury, Ohio. And she said, well, you should support LifeWise Ontario. And he said, well, maybe I will. What are their needs? We gave him our needs list. And the next day we come to work, and we opened up our email, and there was a donation for $2,060 from this gentleman.
Wow.
And Sue and I giggled again, and we out of fun, we totaled up. We needed $3,500, but within just a few days, the total was $3,919, and it completely covered our needs plus some. We're just blown away.
That is so amazing and so wonderful, and one of the reasons I love that story, and we don't talk about fundraising, we talk about trust raising, but to say fundraising, one of the reasons I really do love fundraising is it's one of those areas where you can so clearly see the hand of God and the movement of God and the provision of the Lord so clearly and so instantly, right? You have a specific need, and somebody's already written a check for that specific amount. And sometimes you see that even reverse, that you receive something for a specific amount only to then find out 10 minutes later there's a specific need you didn't know about. And it's just, it can be so encouraging and emboldening as somebody who's in ministry. And so I know people shy away from it, and hopefully there's people listening, there's people watching this, that if they feel a hesitancy to dip their toe in that world of trust raising, fundraising, that they would hear a story like that and hear the joy that I hear in your voice, to realize that, say that thing to the dentist, that maybe you should support, the program and see the Lord move. So I'm so grateful for you sharing that. Tell me about, if you can, just in general, what are you most excited about for this school year as you're kind of just now launching?
Well, what we're most excited about this year, we have grown in numbers. We're so excited. So because God is supplying, we have grown our students. So we've been able to divide up our classes. And so we've been able to expand our team. We're reaching more children. We're reaching more adults to go out back into the community and speak. And we're just so excited to see how God is supplying, and he's bringing the children. And, something that Sue and I have always said was God will bring the right people at the right time. And honestly, Joel, I truly see that happening because it's so easy to want to grow, but we're growing in God's time. And so I'm so excited to see him grow LifeWise Ontario. I'm so excited that he's growing community between our unique 8 programs in Richland County. While we're all unique, he's growing an opportunity for us to be Richland County strong. And we're just growing, we're just paving out all the ways of LifeWise here for Ontario and our community.
Well, it's exciting to see. It's inspiring. And yeah, I think there's some great things happening there in Ontario that can be a great example to communities across the nation, many of whom don't even have LifeWise yet, of what can be, like how the community can get involved and how it can really become a part of the fabric of the community. Well, Julia, I so am grateful for your service, your continual sacrifice. Excited to hear how your entire family is all LifeWised up, and yeah, just grateful that you are serving the Lord in the way you are. And thanks for being part of the Vision Cast.
Oh, thank you for having me. Hope you have a good day.
You too. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week.